Want to know if your business is really crushing it or just cruising? Welcome to today's episode on business assessment. Your company's reality check in a nutshell. It's like a GPS for your business, showing where you are, what's working, what's not working, and where you should be heading for. So in the next 20 minutes, we will cut through the fluff and show you exactly how to take your companies to the next level. But I'm not the expert. And to help us do that, I have invited an accomplished professional with over 2 decades of experience, where he establishes himself as a dynamic management expert, effective strategist, and a thought leader. His engineering background, equipped with a sharp, process-driven, and logical approach to solving challenges. An ardent observer and lifelong learner, a fellow Toastmaster and a dear friend. Welcome to Biman.
Thank you, Jayant.
Biman's passion for transforming the way SME businesses operate led him to transition into the role of a business mentor and executive coach. In the last 9 years, Biman has worked with over 75 businesses and coached more than 160 decision makers. That's a huge number, to be very honest. Empowering people and enhancing businesses at their core. His commitment to social responsibilities also drives him to contribute actively to various NGOs and NPOs, furthering his mission to create positive and lasting impact. Now, with that, let me invite Biman to give a very brief idea about his engagement, current engagements, and an overview of the topic. Over to you, Mr. Biman.
Well, thank you so much, Jayant, for having me on your podcast. I'm really happy and privileged to be part of this. And I think today's topic is going to be very, very interesting. I think it's a mandatory thing for any businesses who really are serious about their growth and continuity. This became my favorite topic about 9 years back when I started as a business coach after calling it quits from my corporate grind. I have seen and witnessed personally how it has been helpful to so many different businesses. Talking about business assessment, I think I have conducted more than 70 plus business assessment, and it has certainly generated some phenomenal results. So I'm really passionate about it, and I'll be happy to share my insights on this topic.
Great. Now, during our corporate days, we were all familiar with the annual appraisal process, which is again an assessment of what we have done, what all are deliverables, how far we have come on that, and what is the future plan that we have. But rarely you come across something like business assessment or business appraisal, if I can use the term. Right. But I'm sure the objective must be the same, or the purpose must be the same. So can you just explain us what exactly is the business assessment and why is it important for businesses of all the sizes?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When it comes to business assessment, it's not really a very popular term or something that businesses actually practice. But as the word goes, assessment, it basically gives you an opportunity to really take a pause and look at how things are happening. Whether it is business or whether it is an individual or for that matter, any other thing or a process. It gives you an opportunity to clearly understand, examine whether it is generating results or not, whether you are on the track or not, whether you are on the course of achieving your targets or objectives, whatever that could be. So this assessment process gives you an opportunity to really examine it thoroughly and give you some early alerts. And I would like to use an analogy here. Like many of us, if not every year, at least once in 2 years, we are recommended to go for an annual health checkup. And when we go for an annual health checkup, we give our samples to the laboratory. And then within 24-48 hours, you start getting the report. And that report uncovers some facts. Some parameters probably, and most of them are actually, you are doing okay. So that's what the report will reveal. There will be some early indicators or some alerts which will say that probably it is deviating, not much, but to some extent. And then there are some unwanted surprises also. I hope it is not the case with everyone, but sometimes we all have experienced that it gives you some unwanted surprises.
Yeah.
Now, this report, once it is out, it gives you an opportunity to do something about you, about your life, about your health, about your lifestyle. And you make certain changes. If you need to be put on a medication, then you are put on a medication recommended by the doctor, of course. And if there are some major actions are to be taken, then that also will come out and doctors will recommend. Pretty much with that same analogy, this business assessment also goes almost like that, wherein you are able to determine whether you are on the course of achieving your targets or not, whether there are some uh, areas where you need to really be concerned about and do something about it so that you can improve on that. And then, of course, you can avoid some unwanted surprises. So I take that analogy and it works really well.
Oh, wonderful. I understand. I mean, there is a strong recommendation, especially after you have crossed a certain age. You must do your medical checkup almost every year, at least once, so that you know, you know, beforehand that what challenges could come up in the with regards to your health and other things. And not
Yeah.
everybody is aware about the challenges one has regarding their health. We take a very generalized view, and at times, by the time we actually get into a big problem with respect to our health, maybe it's unfortunately too late for us to react. So I think this assessment holds a very great importance, not only in our personal life but also for our business. And what are the common signs? Like, we have common signs when it comes to health, maybe sneezing or headache or those kind of stuff that we get. What are the common signs one can look for in a business? Because if we are not tuned to seeing those signs, we are not tuned to looking for those signs, because we are not aware that are these the signs for our issues in the business. So what are the common signs that a business gives you, which will tell you that whether it is running smoothly or you need to take an assessment to take the corrective actions?
Right. Again, I'm going by the same analogy. Many a times we have heard that, we saw somebody last week and he was hale and hearty, and suddenly he experienced a cardiac arrest and he was hospitalized. Or sometimes there is an unfortunate end also. And we have heard about some of the celebrities. We have heard about some of our near ones and dear ones from our close quarters. So it's not really about the sign. But if we really have to look at some signs, some indicators when a business should undergo an assessment or should take an assessment, those signs are probably when you have a stagnancy in your profitability, or if your business is not growing beyond a point, or there is a sudden rise in customer complaints, or there is an early exit or some surprising exit of some of the good people who have been with company for quite some time, and without any apparent or obvious reasons they started leaving. Now these are some indicators where you should undergo a business assessment, because that will help you to go to the root cause of it. What we see, for example, stagnation or business not growing beyond a point, or you are not able to successfully acquire the customers, and many other indicators. Those are the symptoms on the surface. But business assessment actually helps you to go to the root cause and gives you an opportunity to do something about it. So these are some early indicators that you can think of.
Excellent. Now, I to a large extent, when it comes uh, to understanding what the business is going on, what is going good, what is going bad, when things are running smooth, we tend to have a tendency not to get into this assessment or to dive deep into it, because things are running smooth, not knowing that there are some undercurrent which may come up over a period of time and can trouble the speed of business that we are having. There are some misconceptions about being a healthy business. There are some misconceptions about how processes should be run in the business to get the success.
True.
But when it comes to business assessment, processes plays a very important role. So once a business decides to go for the business assessment, how does it start? And what are the involvement of the different stakeholders that you have in the whole process?
Right. So let me answer the second part of the question first. As far as involvement is concerned, everybody who is considered to be the business stakeholders in the business, they should be involved. It is not necessary that it's only the top boss or the business owner who should be part of this business assessment exercise. Everybody who are taking decisions, empowered to take decisions day in, day out, and all the other well-wishers who are contributing to a great extent in the business should be part of this business assessment, because they know the business in and out. They are the ones who know uh, the different context and the history part of it. So they should be involved into it. Once the business decides to go for an assessment, how does it start? So let me take you through step-by-step process. So initially, when I am engaged as a business coach, uh, obviously I'll have about one or two short meetings to understand and sensitize myself about the business. And that's also an opportunity for people, I mean, the business stakeholders to give me some idea about some stated problems. And I'm specifically mentioning the stated problems. And to me, those stated problems are just the symptoms. Many a times they are symptoms only. So I take a note of that. And based on that, we start with a business assessment, which is actually a three-stage process or a three-stage exercise. The first stage is they will get a tailored questionnaire. I call it a pre-work questionnaire that will be shared with the business stakeholders. And I recommend that all the business stakeholders, maybe there are 3 or 4 or 5 people who are involved in that process, they get the same questionnaire, and it will have about 15 to 18 questions. And those questions are very simple, let me tell you, but at the same time, very powerful questions. And why I say they are powerful is because those questions are the questions which we generally don't ask to ourselves about our
Mm,
business.
mm,
It compels them to think through and really take a deep dive. For example, the question like, what's working well in your business?
mm.
Do we ask this question to ourselves? Probably
Correct.
not.
Correct.
Sometimes we believe that it's there in our subconscious. We know what's working well and what's not working well. Or a question like, what is missing in your business? Looks very simple question, but it
Mm,
actually compels you to think it through that, okay, this is something which is missing in my business. Now,
correct.
these questions are, of course, customized, and then it goes to those people. And although I'm saying this as a questionnaire, it is not really a question answer kind of a document. I recommend people to prepare the notes under each of these questions. It may take a serious, uninterrupted time of about 3 to 4 hours to prepare the notes for those 15 to 18 questions. And once they are ready, and it usually takes about a week, given people's occupancy and the things that are going on in their
Mm,
business, and they also need to take care of a lot of things every single day. This is a new addition to their routine. So maybe I give about 7 to 10 days time for them to come back to me and tell me that yes, they are ready. So that's the first phase. The second phase is face-to-face review, wherein I sit with the business stakeholders, which includes business owners, partners, directors, or some HODs of the business. And we spend anywhere between 3 to 4 hours to a full day, depending on the size of the business.
okay.
If the business is little complex or there is
Mm,
huge transaction which are happening, or the size of the mere size of the business is too big, then it may take about up to a day. Now we keep these questionnaire and the subsequent notes as a reference.
okay.
But this review is only, we are just taking these as a reference document. Our
Mm,
review has a lot of supplementary questions. And
okay.
in that one day review, a lot of information is gathered and they come on the table. Uh, it's an ocean of information, and then we need to pick up the right information. And through these exercise, I can tell you, even when they start filling out that questionnaire, there is going to be a lot of reflections and realizations. That itself is actually helping them to understand as to what's going right in the business and what is wrong in the business. Maybe they have some self admission as well that, okay, this is something that we have been going wrong, or this is something that we have not been doing. We decided to do it a few weeks back or a few months back, but we have not been able to do it. We try
Mhm.
to come out with an answer or some just strong justification about it during that review. So that 1 day or half day review is the second stage. And once we gather the information, I sit down and prepare a very exhaustive report which runs into about 18 to 20 pages. And if I were to just give you the structure of that report, it
Yeah.
basically talks about what's the current state of the business, what's
Mhm.
the state of affairs of the business, the strength of the business, the opportunities which are lying in front of the business,
Mhm.
what are some growth areas where they can seriously think about,
Mhm.
and then finally, of course, the recommendation part, which is the
Okay.
most important part.
Right.
And typically, out of 70 odd uh, assessments that I have done, on an average, I have ended up giving them anywhere between 1 dozen to 1.5 dozen recommendations.
Mm.
And then finally, I also tell them that out of these 18 recommendations, maybe these are the two or three or four areas where you need to do something almost immediately. You
Okay.
can't run on all those 18 recommendations at
Yeah.
a time. No business has time, resources, and energy to run with about 18 recommendations. So we
Yeah.
try to prioritize. Then
Mm.
later on we take another one. So this is a three-stage process.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you simplified it very, very nicely to understand what the whole process and what kind of a involvement people had. So, what are some
Yeah.
key areas in a business assessment typically covers? I mean, how do they impact the business performance based on your assessment?
Yeah, so this assessment is typically designed to be an 360-degree assessment. So it
Okay.
covers almost everything about the business, starting with the identity of the business or uh, purpose of being in the business. So
Okay.
from that point onwards, we also delve into areas like strategy. We
Mm-hmm.
also look at operations. And when we say operations, it's not just operation as a function.
Mm.
Okay. All the functions will anyway be covered. So if the
Correct.
business is, let's say, production, purchase, sales and marketing, these are
Mm-hmm.
the common functions that you have. But there are some supporting functions also that also gets covered. So whichever functions that they have, we also look at the structure in the design of an organization.
Mm-hmm.
We also get an opportunity to look at the people aspect of it. And
Okay.
most importantly, we also look at the processes, policies, and procedure part of it.
Okay.
Not saying that businesses don't have those, and
Mm.
especially the SME businesses, they do
Mm.
have, but some of those processes or policies are probably irrelevant, or
Mm.
some of them really needs a little bit of tweak here and there, or
Mm.
some are completely missing. So we also try to identify that these are the things that we need to put in place, and that adds a lot in your efficiency. So in nutshell, it covers everything about the business. There is nothing that is left out.
Oh, great. So, right from, if I can take it correctly, right from the philosophy with which the business was started, what is the thought process, up till the last person in the organization who is responsible for contributing some or the other way in building that dream.
Right.
Great. Though you have already mentioned some of the indicators or some of the warning signs, uh, based on your experience of having helped with so many businesses, would you like to highlight a couple of them in terms of very sensitive or very high impact unwanted surprises or alerts that you have come across in your assessment, and which business should look for and act immediately upon?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you an example of one of my customers, and I've been working with them for nearly 6 years now. They are into distribution of business enterprise solutions. So they
Mm-hmm.
basically sell software solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and they represent about 7 to 8 different principal companies. So they are not really the software development company; they are the distributors. And relatively a small business, but has been doing quite well. They are very well set up. And the culture of the company is great. They've been able to get some great people, very few number of people, but again, they are really highly loyal and well integrated into the business. young ones, but still generating a lot of good work.
Mm-hmm.
And the business has been growing at quite reasonable pace. And if you look at the owners, maybe it is their nature, they always feel satisfied as to how the business is growing. And they were growing at a decent rate of about 10 to 12% every year, and they were happy about it. But in the process, in last 6 years, somewhere in the middle, they started adding some interns and some additional manpower,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that the older employees will now get elevated and they will start thinking more strategically, which eventually will help them to tap more growth. But after about 1.5 year,
Mm-hmm.
that was not happening. So when we actually, as part of our annual exercise, when we were sitting on a review, it was not necessarily a business assessment review the way I do it for a new business. But for this business, when we were reviewing, and some of the elements were common, we could point fingers at a very startling fact, and that was really surprising and shocking for the business owner that despite adding the manpower, the rate at which the business should have grown has not happened.
Okay.
And there was no sign for next 6 months that we will grow. There were hardly anything that got added in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the new principle or new solutions or increasing the customer base. They were busy doing routine, mundane things. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this becomes sometimes a habit. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a kind of an awakening call for them. And we took some actions, and we'll talk about it if time permits. What
Sure.
all actions did we take? And now we are able to really see a growth.
Mm-hmm.
If the business assessment or review had not happened, probably they would not have realized it for another year or year and a half. So this is something that we revealed, and now that business is doing great. And now we are thinking again to add manpower because now we have found a sort of a formula. How do we take our business to the next level?
Great. So, if I can take the gist out of what you said is, don't look at it only from one part that just by adding new manpower or having new team members will by default grow the business. There will be still challenges. There will be some assessment that you need to again do and then re-evolve out of it so that you are on the growth path. Great.
Yeah.
So let's look at the methodology and deliverables of the whole assessment that we are talking about. So how does it work? I mean, what's the duration? Though you have mentioned different stages, the three stages, this thing. But
Yeah.
if you can just refresh our process on that, and who are all involved into it? Though we have covered, but just to touch upon it once again.
Right, sure. So, on an average, it takes about a month's time if business is very responsive.
Mm-hmm.
When I say if the business is responsive, because I've also seen where people have shown interest, a great interest and enthusiasm at the beginning, but when it comes to returning that questionnaire or filling
Mm-hmm.
that out and sitting or sparing a time for a review,
Mm-hmm.
there is some delay. That is something that I have observed. But on an average, it is about a month's exercise where their involvement is about anywhere between 12 to 15 hours, not
Okay.
more than that. And similar is my involvement, but not face to face. So apart from that review that is happening, there of course we have face to face time. Rest of the time I spend on preparing the report, developing my understanding, and maybe a couple of clarification calls that I have with customer. But the entire exercise of these three stages should get over within a month's time.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of deliverables, the first deliverable is that questionnaire that I talked about, and that questionnaire remains with them. Even the notes also remain with them. I never ask that, okay, you submit to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
never get those notes because it is
Mm-hmm.
for their reference.
Correct.
They have looked at and then answer or the notes to each of these question will change over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be the same answer all the time, isn't it? So why I
Correct.
say that questionnaire is a deliverable is because after 2 years, even without me, if they want to refer to that questionnaire and then start filling it afresh, they are free to do that.
Correct.
So that's something that I give it to them. And of course, that recommendation report or the final assessment report that I give becomes my deliverable, apart from the physical time that I spend with them.
Oh, fantastic. Uh, so if you were to give an idea in terms of what should a business expect from the business assessment? I mean, I'm pretty sure this assessment is not done for only one kind of a purpose or one objective only. There must be multiple reasons why this assessment is done. So
Right.
would you like to highlight on those, that what is the benefit, different benefits a business can get out of this assessment?
Yeah, there are some direct benefits and there are some indirect ones. So let me talk about the direct ones. One thing that happens through this business assessment is they get absolute clarity as to what is happening in the business, pretty much like that health report.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when we get a health report, we exactly know, where are the deficiencies. For example, if somebody has a low hemoglobin, or there are some issues in some other area, or there is some higher cholesterol. So they exactly know what's going on in the business. And probably that are also supported with hard data,
Mm.
the facts. So during the review and even before that, I also asked them to bring in a lot of data, information, evidences, or supporting information. So it's
Okay.
all data.
Okay.
Second benefit that they get is they get a confirmation whether they are on the right track or not. Business has to remain or stay on a particular direction. If they
Mm.
are not, and if they are deviating, obviously they are up for the their business is on the toss.
Mm.
So this is something that they really get as a confirmation. Another thing that happens is many a times people have shown a lot of resistance to set some uh, uh, stretched goals.
Mm-hmm.
So in this process, when they know that okay, there are certain opportunities, we have the strength, the necessary strength, and the opportunities are available, they are then able to strategically identify the goals. So that also happens. Other things that happen indirectly is they also get to learn about some of the best practices, because when we are
Mm.
interacting, we also talk about some best practices that the large companies follow.
Correct.
Why can't we do that here? We also try and find out the opportunities where we can actually instill a process if it is missing. We can
Mm-hmm.
also look at the areas where we can probably put some tools, some system, some process, or something that makes your life easy, or saves you a bandwidth, or saves effort, or it helps you to reduce your costs. So these are some indirect benefits which definitely happens. And why I say indirect is because this is not something that we actually enter into assessment with that mindset. It
Mm.
happens on the course of a discussion.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that there are a lot of surprises, as we have already discussed it earlier, surprising facts that will come out of this assessment. And given the fact that it's a surprising revelation, the
Yeah.
businesses at times may need some handholding or some kind of a guidance also for implementing your recommendation. Do you
Right.
offer assistance on that, on also guidance on implementation of your recommendation also?
Yes, in most cases, the businesses, once they do the assessment, I'm typically retained to help them on those identified initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily for the reason that probably they don't have an exposure to those initiatives or to implement those recommendations. If they have the bandwidth, the resources, and the necessary experience, of course they carry on with that recommendation, and maybe some guidance or some advices are required. But
Mm.
in most cases, I spearhead those initiatives. So if it requires to create a framework or develop some process or
Mm-hmm.
put certain things in place or even implement that change, then I'm involved into those steps as well. So my engagement with the business does not end with just business assessment once it is done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also involved with them on the continuity part of it.
Great. So, which means that any business who decides to take your help, you are there to handhold them. You are there to help them find out what are the shortcomings, what are the challenges that they have, the undercurrents in the business which they are not able to identify. And not only that, based on your analysis recommendation, you also handhold them in implementing those. So you actually take them to the success, not just advise them.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
that's the
Fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So, with that, we are almost towards the end of our session, and I'm pretty sure by now the listeners and the viewers must have got a wonderful clarity in terms of what kind of services do you provide, what benefits does it carry, and why should every business should think of going for an assessment. But if they were to reach out to you, we haven't discussed your contact details and where they can find you. So would you like to share those details so that the people can reach out to you for your services?
Yeah, sure. So on social media, I'm available on most of the platforms. On LinkedIn, I'm pretty active. I put up a lot of articles, so I welcome all of you, those who are listening to this podcast, to go visit my profile and find out various articles that I've posted. Most of them are related to business
Mhm.
because that's what my focus is. Apart from that, I also share a lot of tidbits on different topics through my YouTube channel, which is Business Wise.
Mhm.
Uh, I also have a website. The domain name is www.thebusinesswise.com. And apart from that, I'm also a regular writer on Quora. So you can find me with my name, Biman Gandhi, on Quora.
Oh, great. So these are the prime platform where this thing, and
Yeah,
we will definitely share all these contact details along with your WhatsApp number so people can directly reach out to you.
yeah, sure.
Uh, I would want to thank you for sparing your time, sharing your thoughts, and giving an insight about what the business assessment, a very important activity that every business should think of doing it. One last question: what should be the earliest a business should look for assessment, and what should be the frequency going forward?
Yeah, it should be. There is no earliest time as such. If you are into business for more than 2 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's time for you to really assess your business. So let's say if we are talking about a business which is hardly 2 or 3 years old, maybe by this time you have stabilized your business.
Mm,
Once you have stabilized, it's also a time for you to think growth.
yeah.
If you have completed, let's say, 10 years in the business, probably, hopefully not, but probably you have hit the plateau
Mm,
or you are running out of ideas as to how do
mm,
you take your business to the next level.
yeah.
Then again, the assessment will help you. And if your business is declining, no matter whether it is 2 years old or 5 years old or 25 years old, then also it's time for taking the assessment. And typical frequency, uh, I think even without early indicators, even without waiting for any symptoms, it should be done at least once in 2 years. That's
Oh,
what I would recommend.
fantastic. So with that, the last word that Mr. Bimanji has mentioned, do keep those words in mind and reach out to him. We will be sharing his contact details. Thank you so much, Mr. Biman, once again. And we will get back to you for more of your inputs on different aspects of the business. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on your podcast, Jayant. Thank you.
Thank you.